This is Noise. Listener, can you hear me? Kept you waiting, huh? Looks like there's more content at pixelbenders.com. You'll have to click the link in the description below to access the site. You can send your questions to info@pixel-benders.com. If you would like to leave us a message, our frequency is 209-791-0995. Got it? Okay, you're ready to go. Welcome to Codec Calls, a Metal Gear podcast. I'm Luis, also known as Noise One on the internet.
My name is, you can call me German. That's what everyone knows me as.
I am Chris, a.k.a. Dammit Chris, a.k.a. the world's worst gamer.
That's right. So there's going to be three of us talking about Metal Gear as an entire saga. We're going to be doing it. We're going to be replaying all the games from release date order. So that means we'll start with Metal Gear on the MSX all the way to possibly Metal Gear Survive. Maybe those servers will be dead by the time we get to it. At least to Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. If this all goes well, this is like years worth of content, and then we'll end it there.
Well. Actually, what if by the time we're done with The Phantom Pain, Metal Gear 3 Delta comes out?
Oh, that's going to come out this year. So
is it? Oh.
Yeah, it's going to come out this year. So I'm trying to think of how we're going to do that. Like we might interrupt what we're doing to go through Metal Gear Solid Delta. Man, I don't.
You know what might be cool would be, whenever it comes out, if we're up to 3, even though it's the newest release date, it is, at least as far as we know, a reboot / retelling of 3. If we beat 3 and then do Delta right after, just so we can then talk about changes and all that stuff,
Yeah.
Comparisons. Yeah. That would be kind of cool, because it's not technically a brand new game. It's the same game. It's a reboot or a remake, if you will.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to figure out is because we can hold it off until we beat 3. Because how many games is there between? Let's see. There's Metal Gear, Solid Snake, Solid.
Solid 2.
Solid 2.
Oh, well, Ghost Babel.
And I think the PSP games come before that. Right?
No. Nope. Those are after 3.
Okay.
I'm not sure about one of the acids, but maybe when there's an acid after 2. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, I have them written down somewhere in chronological. Well, not chronological, but release date order, so that I know when they'll come. But anyway, I guess our experience, not really our history, but our experience with video games. I'll go first. Like my first video games were definitely at like my uncle's and aunt's house, playing in television and Atari, and experience with the very first NES. I can't think of my very first video game. Like I don't know the memory of it. But my first console for sure was the NES. Got that when I was 5 years old, Christmas, and I had the what's it called, the bundle with the Zapper. So it was the Mario Duck Hunt Zapper bundle, and pretty much like just I've been like in love with like platformers and any kind of like skill-based game like Punch Out and stuff like that. I never owned a Super Nintendo. I went straight to Sega Genesis from there, and I got the Sonic 2 bundle of that. And what did I do after that? I think I went to the N64 after that, which is weird. Like I totally skipped a Nintendo generation. So like I have that disconnect with like RPGs and stuff, which a lot of people grew up with on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I bought a ton of them. Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, a bunch of those.
Yeah, because Genesis didn't really. I mean, all they had was like Star Ocean, I think.
Star Ocean. They had, I think, a series called Shining Force.
Okay.
Yeah, which wasn't bad, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then I think from there, like I pretty much had. Oh no, actually, so after N64, that's when I got around after that, I got my PlayStation, and I think the reason I got a PlayStation was because of Metal Gear, which I will talk about in our next segment where we talk about our knowledge and history of Metal Gear. But then from there, that's kind of where I fell in love with like the Sony brand and more mature games and stuff like that, and I kind of like pushed Nintendo away. It was a while before I ever got a GameCube. I think I was in college, and it was already out for a while. I don't know what an Xbox is. People have tried to describe it to me, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, after that, like PS2, PS3, got a Wii U, a Switch. Unfortunately, I have one that I barely play.
One? I have like 4.
You have 4. I'm a big PC gamer also because I've been playing first-person shooters since like Wolfenstein 3D, like since day one FPSs. So I'm a big PC gamer. Love that stuff. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much my history. Right now, I refuse to get a PS5 because my PC does everything that I want it to do. What about you, German? Yeah.
All right, my history. Well, my earliest memories are playing Atari at my cousin's house, but no particular games in particular, just whatever Pong or something was on Atari. I'm not really sure. But my first real gaming experience, if you will, where I got deep into it was Nintendo, at the NES. Obviously, Legend of Zelda, Super Mario 1, 2, and 3, where 3 was awesome.
It's the best.
Yeah, I was given a Nintendo as like a, birthday present or whatever. I used one, played the bejesus out of it. I had maybe total of 10 games at most, if that, and played them over and over and over and over again because that's what we did back in the day. We didn't have an endless library of games. We just played the same ones over and over. I played a ton of Super, but never owned a Super Nintendo. Played a ton of Sega, never owned a Sega, and I was always at a friend's house or my cousins or whatever. My first console that I got that after the Nintendo was the 64. And that one was definitely, revolutionary for me. I loved the bejesus out of it, played it. Ocarina of Time obviously was probably the game that I spent the most time on. Like you were saying, I think you said you got PlayStation because of Metal Gear. Maybe I think you're kind of touching on.
Yeah.
My cousin borrowed a PlayStation. I never owned one, and he brought it over one day when he was visiting. And he was like, "Hey man, check this game out. Metal Gear, whatever." Popped it in, fell in love with that thing. I was like, "Dude, I want this so bad." That I think I played it over the course of like 3 months. It took me to beat this game because I could only play it whenever he'd come visit or if I went to visit him. And because of that game, that's what led me to buy my very first PlayStation 2. And then ever since then, I've been a Sony fan as well. Yeah, I did own Dreamcast, and I do own every Nintendo console except for the Wii U. I'd never bought one because, like most people, I thought it was like an add-on and not a whole new system. So I never got one.
So underrated. I love my Wii U.
No, so I'm bummed out because I'm like, dude, if I would have known it was a console, I would have bought it. But anyways, I'm kind of the opposite of you, Luis. I kind of refuse to go to PC gaming because
I know.
So I'm like, damn it, like I know they're better. Like I know I'm not gonna sit here and deny it, but I'm like, my PlayStation works just fine. I just pop in the game and play it, So that's kind of where I'm at. Like I said, we could touch more on the Metal Gear part of it later, but yeah, the Metal Gear, let me put it out there real quick. Metal Gear 2 was, for me, my, the definitive moment when the memory's fresh in my brain of when I bought my PS2 and I saw on the wall a picture. I was like, is that Snake? And I was like, oh yeah, Metal Gear 2 just came out. I was like, I want it now. Give it to me, So it was meant to be. PlayStation 2 and Metal Gear 2 were meant to be in my hands. So that's overall my history. Kind of like you, I was like, I like all kinds of games. I prefer skill-based. I'm not big on luck games. They don't really, or random, kind of games where random stuff will happen, and if you're lucky, you win. I'm like, give me a skill-based. I'd rather do that. I like all kinds of genres, except for sports. Not a big fan of sports. And this is like Blitz,
I was going to say, what about extreme ones?
Over the top sports, always welcome. But the ones that are like, oh man, it's so realistic. I'm like, it's boring then. I want to jump 20 feet in the air and throw a ball on fire. That's what I want to do. That's
like
my
history. I even missed like the street.
Oh yeah, those were good too.
Those were dope.
Dude, that's tricky. Come on,
We need more of those again.
Absolutely. On to you.
Before I go on, I just want to touch on something you had mentioned, German, when you talked about seeing it on the wall. For those of you that may not realize or may not know, we used to have to go to stores to buy games and consoles and everything. And those,
You're dating us here, Chris.
Yeah, I consider those the good old days because you could go look at the games and get a feeling for it based on the package or recommendations working there and stuff.
The artwork sometimes would sell it to you.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you would buy a game and it was absolute garbage, and then you could just return it, and there was no 2-hour limit, on stuff like that. So those were the good old days. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that real quick. So my history with gaming is a little less so, I think, than your guys's. I had friends and family that had their own systems and everything going up. I didn't spend a whole lot of time in that playing. I remember when I was younger, I would like to watch one of my cousins play a lot, and he was apparently bothered by that fact. I don't know why. I was too young to remember any of the details or anything.
I'm guessing he's not a streamer then, I guess.
I was gonna say, like,
no,
yeah,
he's not. No. Of course, this was long before streaming was a thing. But anyway, yeah. So I used to love to watch him play, and that was a lot of my time early on with gaming, is watching other people play. Obviously, just observing, just kind of watching. Every once in a while, I would join in, but not a whole lot. And then when I met my best friend, my lifelong best friend, he kind of got me into playing. And he was like, well, why watch me when you can, play yourself? And so he would play it for a little bit, show me the ropes, and I would try it out and everything like that. And that's when I started to enjoy gaming and enjoy playing it and everything. My first video game system that I had was a yellow Game Boy Pocket. And my very first game was Pokemon Blue version.
Blue.
And of course, we had the link cable, and you could play together and everything. And so, like you said, German, I spent hours and hours playing that game. I would beat it. Okay, let's start over. Let's try something new. Let's do a different route. Let's, play with different Pokemon, whatever. And
self-imposed challenges, right? That's what we did.
Exactly. Yeah. It's, let's try this starter now instead of this other one, because it was a different difficulty in the beginning and everything. So, but yeah, so that was my first system. And I played that until I believe, I had that thing for years. And then when I on my 14th birthday, my dad got me my first N64, and I believe it came with Super
Your
Mario.
First?
Yeah. Well, I only had the one. Yeah. Sorry.
Multiple N64s?
Well, my first real game system, I guess.
Gotcha.
Game Boy is a handheld,
yeah.
My first console, I guess. And it came with Super Mario 64, and then I remember I got a couple other games for it as well, and I know one of them was Mario Kart 64, and that was one of the few games that I've ever played that I feel like I am better than most people. And just about everyone I played against in that game I could beat. Just about. There were a couple, and I didn't go to any like state championships or anything like that, so I'm not claiming to be like a guru or anything, but I was pretty dang good at that game. And so that was my first console and my first real experience with that. I had played with Atari and Nintendo and stuff like that. I'd messed around with that. My friend had a Super Nintendo. I had played around. He had a PlayStation, everything like that. We played around with those. But my first real console was the N64. And then several years later, I believe towards the end of high school, or maybe I had already graduated, back when the rumors of Final Fantasy VII movie coming out, Advent Children, my friend got me my own PS1 and a copy of Final Fantasy VII so I could play it before I watched the movie, because he was insistent that I know the backstory and everything. So that was my first experience with like a true RPG, was that one. It's funny to me you guys talked about Metal Gear and everything, because at that time, I didn't know the game existed at all. Like my gaming knowledge at that point was very, very limited to like N64 games, and even that it was very little. And then like when I got my PlayStation, the only game I had for that was Final Fantasy VII. So my history with that is very limited. And then obviously as I grew up and met more people and everything, and was exposed to more games and more consoles and everything, that kind of started to change. I believe. When I was in college, we got our first Xbox that was gifted to our family.
I'm sorry, what?
It was a game.
It's like a
system
mini.
used to-
I think it's a mini fridge, Luis.
Yeah,
I
something like
think
that,
you
yeah.
put sodas in there.
Oh, okay.
Which was promptly stolen by one of my sister's
Oh.
friends. So that was
Oh.
fantastic.
Dang.
Yeah. So.
That's for the better.
Yeah, all we had for that really was Fable and
Ooh.
Halo. So
Oh,
it
those
was
are good games.
Halo was a good game, absolutely, yeah.
So is Fable.
And Fable, yeah, Fable's fantastic as well. Fable is it was before its time for sure.
Oh, 100% before its time. Yeah.
But yeah, so when I started gaming myself, like and buying my own games and everything, I didn't really look for like what's popular and what everyone would play. It's I had a very niche interest at that time, and I don't even really know what it was. I just know I didn't have like a whole big collection, or like I really want this game, or I really want that one, or I'm waiting for this to come out, or a sequel or anything like that. So it's different than I think a lot of other people's history as far as like gaming and everything. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then of course I got the GameCube at some point. I never had a Wii or Wii U.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah, I
Wii.
just missed those entirely. I had a GameCube, and then I got a PS4 back in 2018 to play Monster Hunter World.
Yes.
my
I
God,
had
you got
a
it late?
3DS. Yeah, I got it real late. I got a 3DS as well, also very late. I got that back in 2016, I think it was 2015. And German actually was the one who recommended it to me. And I got Monster Hunter for you, and we played that together occasionally, and that's what got me started in Monster Hunter. But yeah, that's about it for my history. So not a whole lot, but yeah.
Hence the nickname World's Worst Gamer, right?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, because I'm very much a late bloomer when it comes to gaming.
I mean, I've seen you play some fucking like you've endured some shit on your streams when you used to stream. Like the fact that you made it through, what was it, Neo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fucking bonkers. Like I would have given up. Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
no way I would have made it through that.
I may be the world's worst gamer, but I am not a quitter. That's absolutely the case. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you did beat some other games too that were pretty up there in difficulty, and I was like, Chris beat that? I was like, damn, okay.
Yeah.
To be fair,
like-
with with Neo, I had some help with that. And one of our friends used to joke that every time I would play a game, I would get a like uber tier gamer of that particular game would happen to come into my chat and would be able to give me all sorts of advice and stuff.
Really?
But yeah, they helped, like giving advice and helping with builds and stuff like that. Every once in a while, they might help if it's like a multiplayer game. They might come in and help me with a couple levels or something. But yeah, for the most part, I tried to do everything by myself and get as far as I could. But yeah, no, it was tough. But I did eventually make it. Yeah.
I think that's the only reason I made it through Pokemon Crystal is because I'm like I said, I didn't grow up with RPGs. Like the first RPG I ever beat was Final Fantasy 1, but it was on the Game Boy Advanced. And I've never beaten 7. So like the whole like German said, like the whole randomness of it like always throws me off. I'm like, dude, why am I not hitting this guy? And so yeah, getting some encouragement from other people helped me through like Pokemon Crystal, and I think that's another reason why I don't really make it through like Fallout games and stuff. Because I mean the modern ones, because I'm headshotting somebody, but it's a chance that I blow their head off. Like that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I can't get through those kind of games because I'm very indecisive, and when I get too many options, I'm just like, what do I do? What do I pick? And I will end up having like 1,800 save files of different options.
Just save scumming.
Yep, just and they're like, no, let me go back and do the other one. No, I like the other one better. Oh, but this one, and that's why I can't. There's certain games where I'm like, nope, not even touching it.
Yeah.
Either I won't touch it, or I go into it 100% saying just pick it and accept it, whatever happens.
Yeah, live with the consequences.
I think I'm the opposite of you in that fact, in that I love when a game almost overwhelms you with choices, because to me that's like infinite replayability. Where like this time I'm going to go down this path, but next time I play, I want to try this instead. That kind of thing. So
that game that really did that really well, like modern, which I haven't continued, but like the amount that I played, I was like, holy crap, like I actually was okay with living with my decisions, is Baldur's Gate 3.
I've heard about that.
Absolutely.
Like it's just you can't mess anything up. The game adjusts for anything that you do. So like you can kill an NPC and the game adjusts for that.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
And it's
Well,
just like,
no, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I like a lot of options too. Not a lot, not 100%. I'm not going back on my words. Too many options will overwhelm me. But sometimes I do find when you get a lot of options, but then they all do the same thing. They're like, they won't even have the
yeah,
options. You know, like
exactly.
Yeah.
like if it's like four different options, and again, I'm the guy that's gonna save scum it and check each one out, and then they all end up with the same results, and I'm like, then why the fuck do you even give me an option?
Yeah. Are you the fairy boy from my dream? Yes or no? If I pick no, are you sure? Like,
Yeah.
motherfucker, why you give me a choice?
Yeah, or you know, like I was trying to play through like I think it was the Walking Dead novelization game or
Huh?
book, whatever the hell that, and it does that all the time. It's like, oh, save this person, yes or no, and you're like, yes, and then it's like, oh, they got in, the zombie bites them, you know, and you have to shoot them, and you reload the save file, and then it's like, oh, save him, yes or no. He's like, no, and the zombie still gets him. He gets in, you got to kill him anyway. So then, let me pick it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
played through season 1 and of Walking Dead, and yeah, some of those choices were like, this one was kind of pointless. But I think if you play like all the way through the season, you kind of
Mhm.
realize that your choices influence how people think about you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's
You're
not
right about
really saving the dude, because I know exactly
that.
which part you're talking about, like when you're at Herschel's farm and you try to save his son and he dies no matter what.
Mm.
But your choice influences how everyone else around you thinks about you. And I didn't understand that until I was like almost all the way through the season.
Mm.
I was like, okay.
I
And
never
then
beat it, so I didn't think about that. Okay.
then all that carries over to the next season, so you can have that save file effect season 2 and season 3.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I get what you mean, because there are games that are just like, why did you give me any kind of choice whatsoever?
Sure.
Like, this was really pointless.
And like I said, if it's well made, you know, if it's a choice where you have to say yes, and they make it funny or comical, you know, you know, where like you said, the character, like Ocarina of Time. Obviously, one of the things I would love doing is when Zelda would tell you like, oh, like, do you have this precious stone? And you'd be like, no. She'd be like, huh? Are you sure? Like, you don't have it? And I'd be like, no. Huh? Are you
Yeah,
sure? It was just kind of cute, you know, like you know, if it's built in fine, or at least well made, or into the character's persona, it's fine. But like I said, if it's just like, it doesn't matter what you pick, we're gonna do this anyways. You're like, then whatever, you know.
for sure.
I think we can get deeper into other stuff, you know, when it comes to complaining about what we don't like about video games.
We'll complain. So we all three of us do very well.
Yeah.
So if you're not into that, this is not the podcast for you. But if you like to complain, awesome. I think that makes, if you just accept the video game for what it is all the time, you'll fall for anything. You'll you know, you'll keep the Pokemon franchise alive, pretty much. That's what you'll do.
or the Call of Duty franchise. Don't forget
Or
about
the Call
that.
of Duty.
Because all it is the same thing with just different guns and different maps. Which I like
Yeah.
Call of Duty. I play it, so don't let anyone think I don't like it. I play the shit out of it. I'm gonna buy the newest one as soon as it goes on sale.
Alrighty, so for our third segment, we're going to talk about our experience with Metal Gear, you know, our first encounters and kind of what brought us to today, pretty much.
Mhm.
So my very first experience with Metal Gear is not what most like day one Metal Gear fans would say is like their first experience. I was at a friend's house and he had a PlayStation. I didn't have a PlayStation yet. And he was like, hey, have you ever seen this game? Like, it's, I don't even know if he explained it to me, but, or asked me what I liked, because at the time I had like a really weak PC and just my N64. And, you know, I was playing like Tomb Raider 3 on my computer that could barely run it. And he's like, oh, you know, you'll like this one. And he kind of showed me some of the gameplay. And he's like, hey, let me start a new game for you. And this is all like a blur to me, but the thing I remember the most is I wasn't the type of gamer who was super into story yet. I was kind of like the skip cutscene guy. And you get to a certain point in a jail cell in the first game, and there's something you have to pay attention to, and I just skipped it. And the friend was like, no, you have to watch the cutscene, otherwise you don't know what to do. And I was like, can't you just tell me what to do? And he's like, that's not the point. You know, like, I wasn't understanding that this game was an interactive movie.
Well-built game, exactly.
Yeah, you had to pay attention. Like, you couldn't just rush through it. And so it was that whole part with the, you know, the guy tells you what you have to look for in order for you to progress to the first boss. And I kind of like quit right there. And then he just loaded up his game, and I just watched him play more. And I saw him messing around with the soldiers, as you can with C4, if you know what I'm talking about.
Or knocking.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is actually like, okay, I kind of like things that I never thought a video game would do. This game was doing. And at one point, I even asked him, I was like, could I borrow your PlayStation and play this? And he's like, nah, bro, like I'm in the middle of this. And I was like, I understand. I was just wondering. But yeah, that was my first experience with Metal Gear. Most people's first experience with Metal Gear is the Pizza Hut demo. I don't know if you know about that.
No, I don't think so.
So the Pizza Hut demo was kind of like the Zone of Enders demo for Metal Gear Solid 2. And it was just, where do you get to? I think you get to that part. You get to that part where you escape from the cell, and then the game ends. But it was all in Japanese. It was all English voice acting, but no, actually, I think it was full Japanese with English subtitles.
Really?
Yeah, but like that was a lot of people's first experience with Metal Gears. There was like a Pizza Hut demo disc, and then I think also I don't know if it was like, I don't think PlayStation had a magazine yet, but there was also like either Electronic Gaming Monthly or something like that had a demo disc also, and then you could play it that way. But yeah, if I actually think about it, the PlayStation, the first one, I think was the first console I bought for myself. Because if I remember correctly, the 64, that was like from my parents, along with Ocarina of Time and GoldenEye and Mario 64. Like I hadn't bought any of those for myself. So the PlayStation, yeah, I was like, I need to play different games. And I actually forgot about Metal Gear. So when I went to go buy it, and then I saw Metal Gear, they didn't have it in stock, but I was like, oh, is that game? Like I had so little knowledge that I was like, is that game? And I'm like trying to describe it to somebody, and they're like, dude, I don't know. And it wasn't until like maybe months later that I finally was like able to get my hand on a copy of Metal Gear Solid and played through it. And like you were saying earlier, just giving myself new challenges. What's around this corner? What's the most efficient way to beat a boss?
Sure.
Like one of my favorites to figure out was the Vulcan Raven fight, because there's multiple ways to defeat him, and I was like, what's the quickest? Especially once you start playing on extreme, you're like, how do I do this efficiently? So that was Metal Gear Solid on the PS1. And then PS2, I knew it was coming for the PS2, so I was like, I gotta get ready. I gotta get a PS2. My first game on that was The Bouncer. Do you even know what that is?
Oh yeah, I played The Bouncer.
Right, like the fighting, the Square Enix. Actually, I think it was still Squaresoft, but yeah, that fighting game.
Yeah.
I mostly bought the PS2 for Gran Turismo 3. Like, I don't know, I'd never played like a racing sim before, but for some reason I was like, I need to play this while I wait for Metal Gear Solid 2. And same thing with that one. Just played it into oblivion. That's like the second strategy guide I ever bought was for that one. The first one was for Ocarina of Time, and I was just like reading through it because I couldn't stop thinking about Metal Gear. Like it just became an obsession.
So you knew Metal Gear 2 was being developed before you saw it in the store?
Yeah. So
the magazines, I'm assuming, or
so like dude, I can't wait till like we show Chris like the trailer. Chris, you need to black out anything Metal Gear on the internet. Which is gonna.
I've already been doing that. One of the streamers I watch pretty regularly recently, ever since you guys brought this up, and I've been like keeping myself from it purposely and everything. And one of the streamers I happen to watch regularly was playing Metal Gear games. And I was like, gosh dang it, I can't watch this stream because I don't want to be spoiled for the story or anything.
No.
Yeah. But like, what you'll learn also from Metal Gear Solid 2 and the trailer and the announcement is the games don't start when you buy the game. The games start when they get announced.
Yeah.
Kojima is playing a game before the game gets into your hands. And so yeah, I was like hype for Metal Gear Solid 2. I was like, yeah. So that those multiple E3 trailers, I watched them a million times. They're like 10 minutes long. I still watch them to this day because I'm like, damn, dude, like this still holds up like as a trailer.
You know what? That's going to be the first for me and Chris, because I didn't know the game. I mean, obviously, I knew like, oh, they're probably working on a part 2 because you know how it ends, and it was a good game. So I'm like, why wouldn't you make a part 2? But I didn't see any trailers. I'm telling you, I saw it on the wall, and I was like, is that Metal Gear 2? I was like, I will take that right now. Take my money, you know?
Yeah.
So
I don't even remember like how I saw the video. Like it was on the internet. It's like it's got to be 2000. Like what websites were there? How did I see this thing? Like
You,
honestly, I don't
well,
remember.
no, like I said, I never had subscriptions to Game Inquiry or whatever those ones were, Game Informer.
Yeah.
I never had any subscriptions to anything like that. When I was younger, when I got older, I did subscribe to Nintendo Power just so I can say I had it because I was wanted it as a kid. So I subscribed to it, late in 2000, like 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to touch on what you were talking about. You mentioned something that is also unheard of these days. You said a demo disc, and I remember seeing
Yeah.
the demo disc inside of the and you'd go to the Safeway or whatever, and they had the magazine section, and there'd be the
Yeah.
Game Informer, and it'd be sealed up, and there'd be a disc inside, and I was always like, I want that disc because it was a
Yeah.
demo, and you can play it. You can. That's just funny. Like now there's still demos, but no demo disc. They don't exist. And that's kind of funny, kind of interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, that you reminded me that then like Kojima kind of like was promoting Zone of the Enders,
Which I
and
played. It's not bad.
yeah, I played through that one. Yeah, and but we all got it for the obvious reason that it came with a demo disc for Metal Gear Solid 2. I played that into the ground, man. Like I was just like, how fast can I do this? How fast can I do this?
Yeah, no, I didn't play Son of Enders until after I beat Metal Gear. Because long story short, yeah, I didn't even know when I saw that game and it said like Hideo Kojima. I was like, oh, what? He made this? I'm like, okay. And
Yeah.
you can see some of his like writing in there in Son of Enders as well. A little bit of his like mystery.
Well, he's just
or
a
whatever.
producer on that.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
But,
Okay.
But he had some he did have some influence in like helping them through finishing the game and stuff.
I think the first one I played was 2. I don't remember, but anyways, yeah. Continue on with your.
Yeah, I never played 2. But yeah, so that's the Metal Gear Solid 2 story. I can't say too much about it because it's an important part of the entire franchise. And then off to college, and they announced Metal Gear Solid 3, and I watched the trailer for that too, and I was like, oh, where's this going?
Oh yeah.
And then I got super hyped for that one. Oddly enough, I didn't buy it day one. I went to the Carson GameStop, and by that time, like, I was heavy into like GTA and whatever else there was on PS2. And just one day I was like, oh, you guys have Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, I'll buy it. And bought it and obliterated that game too. Just like went straight through it. And also these are around times where they started releasing like what would be the ultimate versions, like of like Monster Hunter. So there was like Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance, and I was like, I'm not gonna buy the same game twice. And then they did the same thing with 3 with Subsistence, and I was like, nah, I'm good. But then I guess there was the PS3, and that one for sure I was like, I need a PS3 for Metal Gear Solid 4. I bought like the bundle with Uncharted 3, just biding my time, waiting for Metal Gear Solid 4. I think around that time for sure I already had a PSP, and like everybody, modded it because it was super easy. Tried to got my hands on the Acid games, but I was like, this isn't for me. Where's a real Metal Gear? Portable Ops came out, and very little voice acting, so I was like, even till today, German, like this is gonna force me to play through that game. I'm gonna play through that game. But then Peace Walker, right? That came after 4. So after 4 came out on PS3, then there was Peace Walker on PSP, which is pretty much almost a perfect Metal Gear Solid game. It plays very much like Monster Hunter, so I know Chris will enjoy it. He won't have to do the claw like we used to back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Since there's an HD version. And then after that, what we got? We got Ground Zeroes announced at like the Video Game Awards, I think. And when you saw that transition from cutscene to gameplay, I was like, wait. This is running on a PS3? What's happening? And it still blows my mind that both those games are on PS3. The Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain. And then of course Phantom Pain, I'm also the announcement to that, it just put the name as spoiler already for Chris, but that got me super hype. And then the entire Kojima Konami Fallout, and then there was Survive, and yeah, the franchise is pretty much dead until Delta comes out.
and then we'll know what's up, and then we'll see where they go from there. Because yeah, that's 3 is my favorite of the game series, and I am excited to replay it again. And but I'm hoping they don't screw it up. It's kind of like you said, it's one of those things where it's like, what should I think about this? Like, should I be happy? Should I be mad at them? Because obviously, Kojima's gone. Whatever beefs they had, we never got to see a true finale, if you will.
Yeah, I'm upset personally, but
Mm.
I have to play through
Oh yeah,
it.
oh yeah, for sure.
Anyway, German, what's your story with Metal Gear?
So for me, I actually owned the what do you call it, the redheaded stepchild or whatever you want to call it, the Metal Gear for the NES. Now,
Oh,
I didn't know I didn't know it was Metal Gear. I just knew it was a game that I hated because I couldn't go make it far.
yeah.
I could. I still remember. I think I would get to like 3 screen transitions, and then I'd get killed by dogs, and I was like, this game sucks. And every time, I'd go back to, like I said, I only had about 10 games. I would every other month I'd go back to it and be like, maybe I can get further. Maybe I can sneak past nah, that game just sucks. It's just horrible. So I had no idea that was freaking Metal Gear. So technically that's my first experience with it. But like I was mentioning earlier, my cousin brought over a PlayStation, which here's a little side note on that. It wasn't even his PlayStation. It was his upstairs neighbor. The guy's name was George. They were friends, and not that he was a bully, but my cousin just had a way to be like, "Hey man, like, oh, that's a nice bike. Let me borrow it." It's like, okay, and he just borrow it for indefinite. He's like, "Oh, hey, that's a nice sweater. Let me borrow it." So he's like, "Hey
He
man,
was the Debo of of the
yeah, yeah."
neighborhood.
Like I said, I mean, he'd give it back eventually and stuff like that. And that kid was like, I was like, "Oh, okay." So like, I remember he came over and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, I got the new PlayStation, from George. Let me borrow it." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I'm like, what are we gonna play? What do we got? Because like I said, I never owned a Super or a Sega, but I played the shit out of them. So I was like, big juice on PlayStation. What does this hold? And like I said, that was Metal Gear. He popped it in, and I'm pretty sure we popped it in right from the beginning. He had already played enough, or at least seen George play enough to know like this game you're gonna like. And so we popped it from the beginning, and I still remember that classic, do do do, that little intro.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh man, I was like, what the fuck? It looks crisp, it looks clean, and for the time, the intro looks good, obviously, but
Yeah.
the logos. But anyways, so I remember playing this game, and like you said, I was mind blown that because I'd never played anything like that necessarily where it was like a movie. Like I said, you're playing a freaking movie here, because I was actually the opposite. I've always wanted more storyline. I've always wanted more. Like, why am I saving the princess? Why am I,
Yeah. What's my
doing these?
motivation here,
What That's what
director?
was me, exactly. Like Zelda, any game I played, I was like, why? Why am I doing it? I read the booklets and find out why, or make up your own stories. Like, make up, obviously, what do you call it, the schoolyard rumors. Were like, oh, well, no. It turns out that Koopa is your father, whatever. Just making that
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
But nonetheless, like I said, that's why I loved Ocarina of Time, because it was, it had so much storyline. But anyways, played Metal Gear. My cousin was over for like the weekend, literally just Friday, Saturday, they left Sunday. And on Sunday, we played 12 hours straight each day almost, and didn't make it far. Couldn't remember where we made it to, but I was hooked on this game, and I was like, dude, I'm like, kind of like you. I was like, yo, man, like, do you think I can borrow it? And he's like, nah, dude. He's like, I borrowed it from someone, so I don't think I can lend it. Yeah, you borrow it. Well, I get you. I was like, well, fuck, okay. So then, like, time kind of goes by, and I would think about that game like crazy. I wanted to beat it. What is going on in this game? The storyline just hooked me. And then he came back one day, about a month, and he goes, hey man, he goes, I bought the PlayStation. Oh, because he called me and said, hey, I'm coming over. He's like, you want me to bring the PlayStation? I'm like, yeah, dude, tell George, let borrow it, man, borrow it. He's like, okay. And I'm like, dude, and so he brought it over, and he goes, we're playing it the hell out of it. And again, I'm like, fuck, because we lost the save data. You're back in the day with the memory cards.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
And
corrupt data.
yeah, or George erased it, or God knows what, because they probably only had the one memory card.
Yeah.
And so it was like, dude, I remember it was like Sunday, and I was like, dude, ask George if I can borrow it. And he's like, oh, I don't know, man, I don't think his parents will like it. I'm like, dude, just come on, please, like, I need to beat this fucking game, bro. Like, I need to fucking beat it. And he says, all right, hold on. And we get the phone, and he calls up George, and he's like, hey man, it's like, and like, again, just like Debo, like you said, he's like, hey man, I'm gonna let my cousin borrow the PlayStation. And I kind of remember him going like, oh dude, I don't know if my parents will let me. He's like, nah man, just tell them I have it, don't worry about it, I'll come back in a month and get it.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
And so he was like, okay man, yeah, you can keep it, but take care of it. Yeah, for sure. Beat it within that allotted time. Love the hell out of it. Like I said, gave back the PlayStation. Always wanted one, couldn't afford one, but I was like, well, no, it is what it is. I never saw gaming magazines. I never saw any kind of video game awards, if they even existed back in those days, whatnot. But like I said, I finally it was 2001 or whatever year that was. Must have been 2001, because I was already kind of working and making some money. And I remember going to just the store down in Napa, where my cousin's from. And like I said, I had plans to go buy the PlayStation 2 because it was fairly new, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy the system. And like I said, I saw it. I was like, what game should I buy? And the two first games I bought with my own hard money was Grand Theft Auto 3. I'd never played any of the Grand Theft Autos, but my cousin was like, oh, get Grand Theft Auto. That one's hella good. That one's hella good. I'm like, oh, yeah, give me Grand Theft Auto, sure. And then, like I said, that's when I saw the box art for, what was clearly Snake. And I was like, is that, the guy's like, yeah. And he goes,
is that the orange one? Like the orange and white
yeah,
with the
yeah, with
Yoji Shinkawa.
Mm-hmm. And I remember the guy was like, dude, he goes, I don't know if I can sell you these games, which is funny because he didn't care about Grand Theft Auto at first, but the Metal Gear one was the one he's like, I don't know if I can sell you this. I'm like, I was like, oh man, I was young, I was like maybe 14 or so, and he's like, do you need parents' permission? So I was like, fuck, and my parents would have let me buy it. But yeah. I'm like, I'm not coming back. We went on the public bus down to the to buy the game at the store. So we called the house and nobody was home except for like my cousin's friend or some kind of friend they had, family friend. And I don't remember his name right now. But anyways, the point, I was like, hey man, out in Spanish, I'm like, yo man, like tell him you're my uncle, bro. Like tell him you're my uncle. Like I'm trying to buy this game. He's like, dude, are you sure? I'm like, dude, my parents don't care, dude. Like, I just want to buy these games. He's like, okay, fine. And so I think the guy freaking knew that was freaking lying. Like, oh, it's my uncle. And the guy's like, dude, is he okay to buy these games? They're rated M. He's like, well, what do they have? He's like, dude, it's got blood. And he goes, and this one over here, you can kill people and run them over and shit, And he's like, yeah, it's fine. So, I got the system. And I was like, oh, wait, I need a memory card. I'm like, you have any memory cards? It was like the chip shortage of the PS5 era right now because there was no memory cards anywhere. So I remember playing, I'll just, no spoilers, I remember playing the Tanker episode or whatever, over and over and over and over because I know
because you couldn't save.
No, I couldn't save the game. I played the bejesus out of the Tanker episode, and then on Grand Theft Auto, I played the first maybe 5 missions back to back. But finally got my hands on the memory card. We'll go into details once we start playing the games. But yeah, I loved it to death. I beat it so many times, like you said, self-imposed challenges. Can I do it fast? Can I do it without killing anyone? Can I do it with the, handguns only? Whatever, everything, every which way you can think about it. I played this game, and then I was thinking so hard about like all the storyline, like where is it going, or who's really the bad guy, who's in charge, what's the conspiracies going on here. And I remember when I found the first game I found out was 3 that was being announced. I don't remember through the grapevine, or a good buddy of mine, Jonathan, told me either way. I remember these keywords. I started theorizing because I remember seeing some magazine clips and probably in the online videos, those teaser trailers and whatnot. And I was already theorizing. Oh, dude, I think it's this. Oh, maybe it's this. Oh, but maybe that. And my friend goes, dude, he goes, just do me a favor, man. Just enjoy the game. He goes, don't even stop trying to figure it out, bro. And I was like, you know what? I was like, you're right. I was like, I'm not gonna think about it. I'm just gonna play the game. I bought it first day, and I remember, I sat down and I was like, here we go. I was like, I'm ready to get into this game. And with no spoilers, and we'll get into that when we get to it. But I played that game, and every time I would have a question, I'm like, wait a minute, like, nope, just play the game. Just play the fucking game. Just play it, enjoy it. And to this day, 3 is my absolute favorite. I beat it almost every other year in one way or another, whether it be the original PS2 version or the PSP version, or just any version I can get my hands on, where I'm like, you know what? Let's play some 3. I love 3 to death, my favorite. And if you don't agree, Chris, then you're out of the club. But 3 is my favorite. I played, never played Acid 1. I bought Acid 2, and it took me a minute to get into it because you're right, it's so different. I was like, dude, like I said, it's not Metal Gear, but I'm like, whatever, I'll play through it. Ended up liking it enough. I thought it was fine. I played Portal Ops. I love this. That's more Metal Gear. Like I said, no voice acting, which I don't remember. Obviously, there's very little of it because I believe you, it's a PSP title. But
yeah, it's just in like the hand drawn cutscenes, but not like Codec Calls and stuff like that. I was like, whoa, where's my voice acting for the calls? Like, what the heck?
But yeah, like I played that one, beat it maybe once or twice. I thought Portal Ops was good, by the way. I thought it was a solid game. Peace Walker, loved it. Four was like you were saying, I think with two, where the trailers were just like I watched them over and over. And four, I mean, each teaser trailer he released, I think it was like three big ones, were just sillier and big and more confusing. And you're like, what the fuck is going on with this game? You're like, what are you trying to tell us, Kojima? Like I said, when we get to those trailers, Chris, I think you'll find them pretty funny as well, and also intriguing because you were like, dude, they're not just funny, but they would also always end up with some kind of like, okay, I can't wait for this fucking game to come out. I cannot freaking wait. I waited forever for the game. I was waiting. I never bought my PS4 until the game came out because I was waiting for the price to go down because if you remember when PS3 was launched, it launched at $700 freaking.
Oh
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, hell no. I was like, I'll wait. Plus I'm like, the only game I want right now is Metal Gear 4, so I didn't care. So I waited a year, whatever time frame it was. But the point is, I waited until a bundle came out, and I bought that version. Unfortunately, it was not like a special edition that I still have it, by the way, but no special
But you got it.
engraving.
You got your PS3 before I did because you have the fat one. I had
Yeah.
I had the first slim one.
Oh, okay. But this thing had no special engravings, nothing that made it on the outside apart from any other fat PS3, except for the box did have Old Snake just sitting next to it, Solid Snake or whatever, just next to it there.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved it because for a while, and I regret throwing the box away. And to keep myself from collecting that box, this is years ago. I purposely stabbed the box and cut it up so I wouldn't be tempted to take it out of the garbage. And now I hate myself because I think the box alone is worth a couple $100, But other than the serial numbers, that's the only way you can prove that it is from that bundle. But the point is, yeah, I got 4, and I do love it. I think we've kind of been on and off with this one about 4 with its problems.
Yeah,
but,
when we get to it, it's it's good. It's a great game. But yeah, when we get to it, I have some things to say.
No, and I agree. But here's what that said. I hope there's things from 4 that make it into Delta, and when we get there, we'll get there. But
Oh yeah.
But there's stuff about 4 that I was like, oh, this is fucking sweet. I love it. I love this game. This is so cool. Played the bejesus out of it, and then obviously Ground Zeroes I was stoked about it, but there was also, I think with the trailers, we won't spoil too much necessarily right now, but I remember the first time I heard people were reporting about a closed door trailer.
Oh yeah.
That we didn't get to see until like months later. That was like, this is weird. They were talking about, just it was Metal Gear, but it wasn't because you were doing stuff that you've never done before, and people were kind of confused about it. And I was like, ooh, am I gonna like this fucking game? And nonetheless, with fiasco that happened.
I think people were comparing it to like Far Cry because you could like mark people and you would like take over bases in certain areas of Ground Zeroes, and I think that's why everyone was like, I don't know if this is gonna, I don't know if this is a good direction for Metal Gear.
Oh yeah, because it was the first time it went open world.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember my buddy telling me, he's like, oh, Metal Gear is going open world, bro, and I was like, oh, and it's like, it's awesome. I'm like, I don't know, man. We're so used to being this linear path. Like I said, choices, like,
yeah, do I
I'm
want choice in my Metal Gear?
I'm not against choices. Just I like a storyline. I love a good storyline. So I'm like, and if you're giving me options, but you're not, I was like, oh, where's it going? But anyways, Ground Zeroes came out. I got it day 1 edition, and then pissed off that it was technically a freaking demo. It really is a freaking more than a demo. It's a demo plus, let's just call it, because it's big enough that it can't be considered a demo.
There's so much content in that. One, it's like crazy. It's like, whoa.
But you are still confined to that one area, So yeah, so by all means, it's a demo, but it's not. But anyways, played it and then just counted down time until Phantom Pain came out. And on that one, I was waiting for a special edition bundle, and I regret it. You have it, right, Luis? You got the bundle because you got the hand.
Yeah. I got the ARM, the collector's edition.
Oh, that's right, the edition. Because I don't know if there was a PlayStation with that one, but I waited.
No, I think at the bundle. I got a decal for my PS4 because I bought why did I buy the PS4 for? Destiny. Of all
Destiny.
games, I bought my PS4 for Destiny.
Oh wow, dude! I still got this thing too unopened in my shelf. I'm about to throw it away.
I got some.
I think it's worthless.
That's funny. But I got decals for it, and so it's the Phantom Pain decals on my PS4.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I got the collector's edition and the guide, but I never looked through the guide. I just like collecting guides.
Yeah.
Even if I don't read through them.
You know what? I should start collecting guides more often because there's no such thing as booklets anymore. So the only
Yeah.
place to find artwork is going to be in those guides.
I
So
think that's why I do it now for sure.
yeah, but no, like I regret. I remember seeing that special edition, whatever bundle, and I won't lie, I thought like the hand, I just was like, that's it, that's all you get. I'm like, yes, never got it until I went to your house that one time to play some Contra, another Konami classic,
Oh
and I
yeah.
saw the damn thing, and I was like, oh, I think it's pretty sick. Shit, why didn't I get one? So now I'm kind of pissed I didn't get one.
It's
But
tiny, but I mean, they made a
oh,
bigger one that you can just buy.
no, it's still pretty cool though. I mean, I still would, again,
Yeah,
I'll
no,
take it.
I still love it.
But yeah, Phantom Pain, Phantom Pain. What without spoiling a lot, I've only beaten it once actually. That's the funny thing about that game is that I've only beaten it once, even though it's open
uh,
world and even though you can technically play it infinite. And them like I've been, I went back and beat one 100 times. I've played beaten 200 times. I've beaten three 1,000 times. Portable Ops. I think I beat that one a handful of times. Peace Walker, I have, but Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, I've only beaten them once, even though they're the newest entries. And
yeah, same
I don't
thing.
know what
Yeah,
that says. I don't know. Oh, and four, I've beaten a shitload of times as well.
I mean,
So
it's Phantom Pain is huge. I think is the problem. It's way too big. I mean, you can't really play through it with just the story missions. I mean, you can, I guess, but it's so easy to get distracted and
oh yeah,
to go do other
absolutely.
things.
But because it is the first one that's open world. It's the first one that just. I mean, I love a lot of the stuff they put in it. I mean, the if I just thinking back about how Snake handles and how he moves, I'm like, oh man, he does. I mean, I recently just popped into my PlayStation the newest collections edition, and I played around just a little bit, just with one, a little bit with three, and I was like, oh God, I'm like, we're so spoiled now. We're so freaking spoiled now.
Yeah, the
Um,
button configurations are so weird for back
Jeez,
in the
yeah,
day.
dude, I got caught so many times because I couldn't remember how to freaking shoot. It's square,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to shoot with freaking R1. I'm like, shoot the bastard. And I'm like, oh, it's square. What the fuck is wrong with me? Anyways, you're gonna learn that, Chris. You're gonna get used to it pretty fast though, because it's gonna
I
be
love
square for like the first, I don't know, like
3
four
games, I
games.
think.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the Metal Gear history with me. It's a beloved franchise. I love it. I love Kojima. He really for a while there, getting a little off, not off topic, but just to end my section here. Two, I don't know if you felt it, Chris, but sorry, Luis, but with two, with a lot of that government talk and stuff like that, I was like paranoid for a couple years there. I was like, dude, this game is speaking to me. Like it's like telling me to watch the government and not trust everything. It really.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was even like, dude, is this guy telling us something that we should be aware? He's not. He's just freaking playing with us. But just like you said, trailers as well. But even the game, I was like, dude, he's putting stuff. He would put something in there, and then like something eerily similar would happen in the real world, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, they had to change the ending of it because of 9/11.
Yeah,
Like the game was going to come out, and they were like, "Oh, we have to change this because this is, this will feel insensitive." It was. I don't know how it was too close to home. The ending, the original ending, and so they changed a couple scenes. Like they just kind of just cut out something so that we wouldn't see it. But yeah, no, I agree. It definitely influenced the way I thought about the world and our government and stuff like that. We discussed this off podcast at one point, like almost to an unhealthy point, until I kind of like had to grow up and get rid of that angst and be like, okay, the government's not out to get me, but they're not. They're great
not
at what they do, and
they're not my friend either.
Yeah, they don't have my best interests. And
No. I mean, he hit the nail on the head with a lot of topics, especially like the whole soldier and wars. Obviously, Metal Gear is a game about freaking soldiers and war at the end of the day. And
yeah, anti-nuclear, anti-war.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about like, damn, dude, like I can see I can see the government doing that. I could definitely see them doing that.
Yeah.
That's my end of my segment, Chris. I know you haven't played much, but if you want to talk anything that's about what you know, at least.
You mentioned I haven't played much. You severely underestimated me. I have not played any Metal Gear game at all. I've never touched it. I've seen gameplay of it with other people playing, but even that, very, very limited. My knowledge of Metal Gear is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I know
I was gonna ask.
he's in there.
Oh yeah.
I know there is the whole thing where he hides under boxes, and it works for him for some reason. And I know
does.
about the red exclamation point thing and the sound that goes along with that.
Yeah.
That is literally my knowledge of that game. So
Mm.
I am more than fresh to this. I am a newborn baby when it comes to this franchise. So
And that's something that me and Luis were talking when Luis proposed this to me. I was like, dude, this is kind of cool because A, replay all the games. You know, I love the series, but then B, kind of getting you into it, like getting new perspective.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm excited. Me and Luis were talking, like I said, off podcast one time, and I was getting so excited about all this twists and turns that made me go, what the fuck? I want to see you. I want to hear you go, dude, what the hell's going on? Be like, yep, that's what we felt. You know, that's
Yeah.
what we felt, bro.
I can't wait for those texts where he's just gonna be like, wait. What?
Yeah, no, and I can certainly understand and appreciate from your perspective, because there has been several times where I've played through a game or a franchise and I recommend it to a friend or someone who doesn't know anything about it, and yeah, no, I understand you're looking forward to, oh, how are they going to react to this, and what are their thoughts going to be on that, and what are they going to think of this little twist here and things like that. So I certainly understand and appreciate that from your perspective. But yeah, it will be completely brand new to me. Like I said, I had a person I normally watch their streams pretty regularly who is playing through the series, both the remakes as well as some of the older ones, I believe. So hey JW, if you are out there listening to this, I apologize for missing so many of your streams. Now you know why. But yeah, so I had to avoid them purposely because I didn't want to spoil anything. I didn't want to learn anything. I didn't want to gain any knowledge that I wouldn't normally have, that I don't already have. So I had seen very little gameplay of it before. I know some of the stuff. I'm sure there's going to be things that pop up in the game that I've seen or heard outside of the game. It's like, oh, that's what that is, you know. So like little things like that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm always open to try new games and everything that people recommend to me. This just happens to be one that I have almost no knowledge on, and I know these days that's almost unheard of, especially with the age that I am and the systems that I grew up with and everything. But like I said, when I was growing up with games, it was very limited, and it was usually watching other people play what they had, and I didn't know a lot of people that played those type of games when I was growing up. So it's going to be completely new to me. So
yeah. Well, I mean, these games were never really made to be played like 30 minutes here or there, an hour. I mean, these were sessions. You sat down for freaking hours. That was the biggest difference compared to old school Mario, where you could just play a couple levels and you died, you turn it off. It was a big difference. Like I said, that's what blew me away. Was like, I was like, dude, this is a game that's gonna take hours to beat, like multiple. I'm like, you need a save card. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of critical thinking involved in the Metal Gear games that I definitely was not equipped for. Like if I would have played the first one on NES like you did, like no way I would have been like, binoculars and whatever and gas mask and stuff like. There's no way. And I think by the time I got to the PlayStation, I guess I was ready, because then that's kind of where I already had experience with Ocarina of Time and GoldenEye. GoldenEye really made me think critically. When you want to do like the hardest difficulty, you had to like route your progress to do all the objectives and stuff. And I think those games got me ready for Metal Gear, to actually like, let me sit down and experience this. And also, it is linear, but there are choices along the way, even in the first one.
Yeah.
As far as like how you're gonna route something and what weapons you're gonna bring with you and what weapons you're gonna use, and it just what a fucking crazy experience Metal Gear was. And I'm glad to have met someone who has never played it and is willing to play through the whole thing, because like, anytime I tell someone like, oh, what, you've never played Metal Gear? Like, dude, you should play, and you can recommend whatever one you want to anyone, but you could just see it in their eyes. They're just glazed over. They're never going to play it.
No. I mean,
and especially all the stigma that comes along with it. People are like, they kind of treat it like the way they treated the show Lost, where it's like, oh yeah, I heard about it. Isn't it like this and that? And it's like, the ending was crap. And it's just like, dude, you don't know shit. Like, just, if you don't want to play it, just tell me you don't want to play it. Like,
Well, like you said, especially when you're kind of like, where do you jump into? And you jump
Yeah,
in
how do
that
you start them off?
MSX, or do you go straight to one? I'm like, because you can't start at two without playing one.
Yeah.
You can technically you can start at three without playing anything. But it's like, where do you start? Where do you play the newest one because it's the best controllers, or yeah? And
And
then
now that you mentioned that, I don't know if you noticed, German, but we completely skipped over Twin Snakes.
oh yeah, we did. I did play it,
Which,
by the way.
yeah, I played that too. But one of my old roommates, he became a Metal Gear fan by playing that one first,
Hmm.
and I was I always called him a fake fan because I was like, dude, that's not even a Kojima game. Get out of here. But that might be a good starting point for other people who are trying to get into Metal Gear
I
because
guess, yeah.
it runs on the Metal Gear Solid 2 engine, so the controls are a bit more user friendly and there's more things you can do because the first one is so restrictive on PlayStation. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
can't even like creep, right? You can't tiptoe
Nope.
anywhere.
Nope.
Like
Mm-mm.
it's either full speed or not
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you're walking
classic.
around.
Yeah, he's 100%, or he's standing still, and no in between.
Yeah, because it wasn't programmed for the analog sticks. As far as like Dead Zone, it was programmed for directions, but not for how far you press the controller.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Mm.
that ran longer than I thought, which I should have known better because this is Metal Gear.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it'll be like 30 minutes.
No,
And
when you said 30 minutes, I was like, no way. But all right.
I thought we were gonna
I
burn through
figured
all
the
that stuff
same
fast.
thing, but I didn't want to assume or so.
Well,
So
this is obviously the raw footage, So
yeah, I mean, I mean, there's not much to trim, but
no.
I'm just gonna trim out the dead air. But I think this length is probably what it's gonna end up being. So that's what we got to figure out. So the first game we're gonna play is gonna be Metal Gear on the MSX. Chris has a copy from the Master Collection. Is that what it's called?
I
I
don't
think
even
so.
know. But
Yeah, the Master Collection that just came out. I think we should just play through the whole game because it's not very long. It's just difficult. Chris, if you think you need a guide, like a GameFAQs guide or something like that, like I wouldn't, discourage that.
Okay.
Just because there's some bullshit things in that
yeah.
game
Oh,
that you're just like,
100%.
how would I know this? You know what I mean? It's almost like Zelda 1 where you had to like put a bomb in a certain wall to find the sixth dungeon. Like who would have, how would you know this?
Yeah.
So there are things like that in the first Metal Gear. So
if I come across a situation like that, would you rather me ask you guys first for advice? Because I know if you look stuff up online, there is the possibility of spoilers, and I would like to avoid that as much as possible. So should I go to you first? And then if you're not available, or
considering I've never beaten the first or the second one,
okay,
I'm not the one to ask. German, have you played through those two?
I have many years ago, and I use save states. So this is kind of brand new for all of us right now, honestly. But
Yeah.
I have seen like other people play through, and even like some speed runs of it. But speed runs usually will find a way to break stuff here and there, so
Yeah.
it's not too accurate. So I think we're going to one all kind of blind at this point.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think the best thing would be a GameFAQs because that's just like a text-based guides, and
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and there's always spoiler-free versions. Like everyone does their own type of guide. That's the best part about GameFAQs. For those too young to know, GameFAQs.
That's how we did in the old days.
Yeah, GameFAQs.com is a website where people dedicated months of their lives. Like if we would have taken that time, we could have written some GameFAQs, like me and German. But like these people were like, I'm gonna type in everything I know about this game.
Oh, every nook and cranny. Yeah.
Sometimes they made maps out of text.
Yep.
Like,
I remember that. Yeah. Final Fantasy 7. There's I don't know if you've gotten far enough in it or you've played it all. There's a level where you have to travel through like a snowy field, and there's like a bunch of blizzards and come, and like your direction will change every once in a while. You have to place flags to make sure you're going straight. And they did one with that because there's like optional items you get in there, but you have to go like very specific directions, and or like a cave layout. They do that kind of stuff. So yeah, I remember that well.
Oh god. But yeah, so that'll be what we'll be talking about on the next episode. I guess will be episode 0, and then episode 1 will be Metal Gear 1 on the MSX. Well, not on the MSX, the MSX version. So Chris will be playing the Master Collection version. German, which version are you going to be playing?
I'll be doing the Masters again as well. I already have it out, so
okay.
I do have other versions. I'd have to pull on my PlayStation 3 in order to do like the collector's edition.
Right.
But
I
know you want to try different versions, just to see.
Yeah, I think they're all the same.
Because that's such an old game, there wouldn't be any different versions of.
Yeah, so I'll see which one I do. I'm not too sure if I'm gonna do the one that came with Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence, or if I'll do the Master Collection version. But they're gonna be the same game, like we said. So yeah, so that's what we'll do. We'll have you think we could do it in 1 week? We'll have think we'll have time to beat it?
I think we can probably do it in 1 week if we dedicate. It is a smaller game, so especially as long as we at least try and put in a few hours a day, we should be able to get it done.
Yeah, and there's not much like story per se. Like there is story, so it's not like I said, Chris. Like even if they had a spoiler in the game facts, you'll be like, huh? Like
yeah, fair enough.
We might have to explain to you what the hell happened in the first one, even after you beat it. You'll be like, I really don't really understand. So
okay.
We know the story.
When they made that game, or when Hideo made that game, he did not think of 30 years to the future. So he
did not think that was going to go anywhere.
Well, if it was for NES, that was a time where it was almost the Wild West, where we're gonna make a game, we have no idea how it's gonna do, if anyone's gonna play it, or what it's gonna be like. So yeah, there was, like you say, German. There was probably no thought of how are we gonna tie this into a second one or a sequel or a prequel or anything like that. So yeah, I get that. So
So now that you mentioned that, the NES version actually is not the same game.
Oh
yeah, so we're gonna play through the MSX version.
Okay.
Better, trust me, because it actually is a good game versus the Nintendo version. I have it, and I have it because it just says Metal Gear on it, but it sucks.
But after that, we're also going to play through the NES version.
Okay.
As much as I don't want to either, but I'm like, I feel like I need to play through every single one. Because that one, like you said, the dogs and all the other bullshit that happens in that game is just like, dude, are you kidding me? So so you'll kind of have like a comparison. We'll have a comparison after we beat both of those. Like I feel like this is us eating our veggies before we have our steak.
yeah.
It's gonna be Metal Gear on MSX, Metal Gear on NES, then Metal Gear 2 on MSX, and then this other game that's called Snake's Revenge on the NES, which is like the most hated Metal Gear game, I think.
I don't think I've ever even touched that one.
Me neither. But these first 4 games are going to be kind of brutal. So that's why I'm like, I think we need to get each one of these done within a week. If you don't beat it, I think that's fine. Because Metal Gear 2, like the official sequel, is just as long as Metal Gear Solid. So we're going to have to figure out if we're going to do that in a week or multiple weeks. Because there's a full-fledged story in that one.
I think what we can do is obviously play them. That's the whole purpose of this. But if we are kind of running short on time, at least with these ones, at least especially just thinking about Snake's Revenge, I'm like, maybe just watch another person play it, or after I play it for a couple days worth and try to see how far we can get, because we are limited on some time, obviously, and we want to get to the good stuff.
Like I don't want it to be like stressful.
No.
I feel Snake's Revenge is going to be stressful. So is the NES version. Yeah, it's just it's not going to be worth the gray hairs we're going to gain from those games.
No, 100%. I think we should definitely play them. Get as far as we can.
Yeah, if we can do it, cool. If not,
and then
watch a playthrough.
At best, and then we're not copying out by any means, because once we hit 1, we will play them through, because that's Metal Gear Solid 1. That's when they actually become playable. Let's just say that.
Yeah. For sure.
All right.
Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of Codec Calls, a Metal Gear Solid podcast. I am Luis, aka Noise One.
I am German.
I am Dammit Chris, aka the World's Worst Gamer.
And we'll see you guys next time. We don't have any kind of sign off yet. I'll have to think of something Metal Gear related.
It'll grow. We'll get something.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye,
Bye.
everybody.
Snake, are you okay? Snake? Snake!
Yes, sir. The entire episode is out now. Those three are still playing. More content? Yes, sir. Pixel-benders.com is the best place to find it. Yes, you can click the link in the description below. Yes, you can send your questions to info@pixel-benders.com. No, sir. It doesn't cost a thing to give the show a 5-star rating. That's right. Nobody knows you are the one that will keep this podcast alive. Yes. Thank you. Goodbye, Mr. Listener.